within the game.
What's up around the smoke family? We are back for episode number 3. This is the playoff hunt. We are finally at week number 13 in the league, and it is all the commissioners with the exception of Tevin. Tevin always either at work or he don't want to be on the show with us. He went solo, by the way, y'all. But on another note, welcome back to head commissioners KD and Rel and my boy back with me again, Mike the GOAT. What's going on, y'all?
What up?
What up? What up?
Yes, sir.
All right. As we get ready to get started, y'all, with the stream, as you all see, this is the first playoff picture. The number 1 seeds currently are the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals. I got to take all the smoke logo down so I can show them Falcons at number 2. There go the Atlanta Falcons at number 2 in the NFC, with the Giants at number 3, the Packers at 4th, the Seahawks are 5th, the Lions are 6th, and the Bucks currently hold 7th. On the AFC side, the number 2 seed is the Miami Dolphins, the 3rd seed is the Cincinnati Bengals, the 4th seed is the Chargers, the 5th seed is the Jaguars, 6th is Baltimore, number 7 currently is the Indianapolis Colts. After y'all have seen the first edition of the playoff hunt, are you guys surprised with any teams? Is anyone impressing you so far, or do you see a shakeup still to come, guys? Whoever want to go first?
Okay, I got it. So, looking at the overall playoff picture now, I'll start with pretty much what's going on in my division. I'm sure we will touch on it later, but right now the Bucks are the 7th seed. I took a look at the Saints schedule and the Bucks schedule. They're both fighting for that last seed, and they also play this week, but it is looking like the winner of that game is probably going to be in the driver's seat to be that last seed. But other than that, just looking at the playoff picture on the NFC side, I don't see really any surprises. The Cardinals are number 1, and everybody that's there is pretty much expected. I think where it gets tricky is over there in the AFC. It's going to be a battle, especially for that last seed. I know they're not pictured right now, but the Buffalo Bills, they have a great shot to get that last seed, but the Colts also have a good shot to keep that seed. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward. And also the number 1 seed in the AFC isn't locked up yet by any means. So that's going to be something to pay attention to down the stretch.
Yeah, I think like KD was saying, I don't really see any surprises per se with the whole playoff picture. I know the Saints and the Bucks got that game today that'll determine who gets that 7th seed pretty much for real. But like he was saying, man, that 1 seed on both sides is not locked up yet. You got the Cardinals and Falcons fighting for that over on the NFC side. On the AFC side, you got the Titans, Dolphins, and Bengals. The thing about the Bengals is they have the tiebreaker over the Dolphins and the Titans. So if the Titans or the Dolphins were to drop another game and the Bengals keep winning, they could steal that 1 seed. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting all around the board. So it'll be, and with the matchups right now, it's just interesting matchups as well. So it's gonna be a fun last 4 weeks to see how this plays out.
Yeah, not too many surprises right now, but just looking at the matchup, and I'm just like, damn, I wish the playoffs was today. I'm looking at these matchups. I'm looking at the Jags versus the Chargers, looking at 3-6, that Bengals versus HC Darrell, that will be a good game to watch as well. I think an underrated matchup right now will be that 2 versus 7 with the Dolphins and Colts. Looking at the other side, seeing the Lions and the Giants, that will be a pretty fun matchup. They've had some great matchups in past seasons. But yeah, and see whoever lines up with the number 1 seed. I know everything's not set in stone yet, but there's some pretty good matchups if the playoffs did start today. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how things shake up. I hope they don't shake up drastically because I see some pretty interesting first round matchups though.
Yes, sir. I agree with every one of them. Said this is gonna be fun, especially we're gonna talk about the battles of several seeds in both conferences, especially the AFC. We knew coming in we were gonna have at least 8 to 10 teams fighting for 7 seeds. But of course, the season has played itself out, and at this moment, 7 is between the Colts and the Bills. The Bills are not seen right now, but we're gonna have a playoff hunt show every week leading up to the playoffs. So you're gonna see them two kind of battle neck and neck to be between 7 and 8. So it's gonna be a fun shot. It's gonna be a fun battle between those two down the road. And number one is more clear cut in the NFC between two teams than it is in the AFC. The AFC is definitely going to be a slugfest between 1, 2, and 3. At the moment, Tennessee, as we all see, has the number 1 seed and really control their own destiny to hold the number 1 seed. However, the Miami Dolphins have a great chance now with only 1 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals at number 3 to give the Titans a run at that number 1 seed as well. And don't sleep on this. If the Titans and Dolphins somehow slip up and drop a game and the Bengals win out, the number 1 seed goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. They have the head-to-head win. So, again, gonna be fun to watch down the stretch. Definitely gonna be fun to watch down the stretch for these guys. And before we get into that, I want to go ahead and move to talking about that number 1 seed matchup. The number 1 seeds. I'm gonna go down the stretch to first. I'm gonna talk about the Tennessee Titans. They're number 1. They currently hold the number 1 seed with a forced wins coming up between the Raiders and the Cowboys, but 4 key user games coming up. They got 2 in division with the number 5 seed, the Jaguars. Got a game against Tevin in the Power Ranger Chargers. Excuse me, I got to give them a nickname. They don't just get called the LA Chargers no more. And the 4th user game is against Mike in the Houston Texans, who, by the way, if you've been watching the bottom of the screen, I've been rolling off the top 10 defenses in points per game. The Texans are number 8 despite their record, so that's not going to be an easy out. The Dolphins are 11-1. They have a forced win against the Jets, and the Patriots, with 3 user games remaining against the Chargers, the Buffalo Bills that are in their division, and the Green Bay Packers. They're going to hold on to win the AFC East, as I mentioned in the previous show. However, they got an opportunity to make something happen as far as that 1 seed. So they have to honestly win out. And as I mentioned, the Cincinnati Bengals are 10-2 with a unique position. They are 1-2 against. They have beaten 1-2 this season. They have a force against the Patriots. However, they have 5 user games remaining. They got the Chiefs, which is going to probably happen after this stream. The Browns is a question mark. I don't know if Coach Bino and the Browns are going to play at this point. If they do, cool. If they don't, I understand. And you got the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens in Week 18, which should be a smoke session to remember. And then you got the Buccaneers, who's battling for that number 7 seed. So, hearing about those 3 teams, who are y'all favorite to be the number 1 seed?
Right now, if I had to pick on the AFC side to pick a favorite to be the number 1 seed, I would go with the team that's currently the number 1 seed right now, who is the Tennessee Titans. I just feel like they have a great coach. Now, all those other coaches are great also, but with them kind of sitting in the driver's seat right now and knowing what the user is capable of, I fully expect him to maintain that number 1 seed, but it's going to be close, man. It's going to be a photo finish for that number 1 seed over there.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think the Titans have the best chance of maintaining that number 1 seed right now. So, hey man, I know they got the 2 big games with the Jags on the second half of the stretch, so we'll see how that turns out. But if they come out through those, then it's theirs.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Dolphins could probably run the table, but because of where we are right now in the stage of the season, it might be difficult to leapfrog someone if you're one of those higher seeds like that. But if the Titans slip up, I do believe the Dolphins could sneak in there. It really just depends on the Titans. That user controls his own destiny. So it's going to be difficult, but it's possible. But at the same time, the Titans control their own destiny.
I agree with everything that's been said. The number 1 seed right now, it really comes down to Twan. It comes down to Twan. Twan got to handle his business. He can win within his division. He can hold on to handle his games inside the division. You set yourself up to possibly go deeper as far as number 1 seed. But you can't slip up because the Titans control their destiny, but the Miami Dolphins have the more favorable schedule down the stretch. Now, that's not to say that they would not drop one of those games, but their schedule favors them. They have 2 forced wins against the Jets and the Patriots. They got 3 games against the Chargers, the Bills, and the Packers. Now, again, really, they have to, in their eyes, they need to win at least 2 of those 3 user games and just hope that the Titans drop 1. But again, the Bengals still have a lot of control of their own destiny too. So it's going to be fun. These 3's going to have a lot of fun coming up as far as the number 1 seed. As they said, Coach Carroll and the Titans, we are not picking on you guys, but this number 1 seed is not over yet. You guys handle business. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to battle like going down the stretch. Now, as I move on to the next battle, let's look at 5 and 6, which is between the Baltimore Ravens and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, who started 10-0, has lost their last 2 games. It's been 2 tough roads. The Ravens broke the undefeated streak, and Detroit stunned the Jacksonville Jaguars at home in Detroit. They got 2 forced wins coming up against the Jets and the Cowboys, but they got 3 user games remaining. They got 2 against the Tennessee Titans, which is Coach Antoine Carroll. That's the current number 1 seed. And they have 1 against the Texans. The Texans said that he wants to play spoiler, and hey, I'm here for it. That guy want to play spoiler. I love it. You're not giving up anything for free. The Baltimore Ravens, on the other hand, have an 8-3 record. They got 3 forced wins coming against 1 against the Broncos and 2 against the Steelers, with 3 user games remaining. As I said, the Browns are the question mark right now as far as the game, if that game is being played or not. And then you got the Atlanta Falcons week 16 and the Cincinnati Bengals week 18. The battle for the 5th seed is neck and neck. I personally have the Ravens edging out this Jaguars on a tiebreaker to get the number 5 seed. I think it's going to be Chargers and Ravens first round. That's that's what I'm thinking. I think the Jaguars and Titans could potentially split their series, but again, if you possibly find yourself into a split, you may find yourself having to go up against the neck and neck of losing that game against the Ravens. So I think that 5th seed is not over. I'm giving the edge to the Ravens, but we will see down the stretch. I want to see what the guys think about that 5 seed.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with you on that. Just judging by the Jaguars' schedule moving forward and how they still have to play the Titans twice, it's gonna be tough. I mean, both teams really have some tough games down the stretch. I know the Ravens, they have to play the Cincinnati Bengals again, and they also have to play the Falcons. And of course, the Jaguars, like I mentioned, they have to play those Titans twice. So it's gonna be a tough finish for that seed, but I feel like the Ravens can probably snatch that seed and keep it until the playoffs start. So that's what I'm looking for, and that a Ravens Chargers first round matchup would be pretty fun.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. Like Eddie was saying, the Jags got those 2 division games with the Titans, so that's going to be pretty tough. The Ravens also got the Falcons and the Bengals left, and the Bengals won that first matchup, so it's going to be a tough matchup. But I don't know, man. It's the way it's playing out is it looks like the Ravens might slip into that 5 seed, and possibly, depending on that last game with the Bengals, depending on how that head-to-head goes, if they win that game, then they might slip into that 3rd seed and flip that whole AFC, the 5th, 6th, and 7th, maybe. I know 5th and 6th will be flipped for sure if the Ravens win that last game against the Bengals. So, hey, that's why we play the games, man. Interesting. It's going to be interesting.
It's crazy because you think about it. Jags have those 2 games with the Titans love, and honestly, the Titans are a very formidable opponent. Don't get me wrong, but if the Jags are playing on their A game and they just, they win those 2 games, they could really flip this whole AFC upside down, and put themselves in a position to win that AFC South, which then you have to think about maybe the Titans being in that 5th, 6th battle. And like Rail said, he could potentially be that 3rd seed. So it's a really fluid situation. It could really get crazy at any moment. So it really depends on the Jags. If the Jags go in and run the table, handle their business within their division, they could really cause a lot of confusion within this conference. So I'm sure the Titans are going to have something to say about that. I'm sure they're like, this is our division, and they're going to have to come and take it, and they're not going to they're not going to allow it to happen. So if that happens, I see the Ravens. Of course, if they lose, the Jags lose a game or 2, the Ravens are going to have that 5th spot, and then it could turn into the 3rd spot depending on their last game with the Bengals. So yeah, it's really all on the Jags. See what they got. I'm really excited to see those 2 matchups. It's kind of interesting that those 2 matchups between the Jags and the Titans are having at the end of the season. That just adds to the pressure. You get real life playoff type matchups before the playoffs. That's really exciting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that is it. We feel like on the 5th seed. I got, oh boy. Finley said, I hope DK Terrace is going to start the playoffs with the Ravens. Well, that can't happen because the injuries are only on 5.
And I don't know what is that? What is Tare? Tare? What is that?
That's the remix. But yeah, but moving along, the battle that we are here to talk about, that one legit battle in this conference, the number 7 seed between the Buffalo Bills and the Indianapolis Colts. That's before we get into that, just checking in, the Chargers hot right now. We're gonna skip past you. Anyways, the Colts and Bills. Now we'll talk about you. We'll talk about you when we get to division by division right now, Bill. But the Colts and the Bills right now, the Colts are currently 9-4. They got a big win against the Dallas Cowboys this week. They got a forced win against the Minnesota Vikings, but 3 user games remaining between the Houston Texans, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the New York Giants. Also, the Buffalo Bills have a 7-4 record right now. However, the Bills have 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 forced wins coming up. It is no fault of his own. He can't help that the other 2 teams in the division, one is already been taken in week 1, and then the other one don't know what he got going on, like I said in the previous stream. So that's no fault of his own. So he has 2 user games remaining against the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you ask me who's going to be number 7, I don't know. It really comes down to who can still really looking at the matchups. There are going to be some tough matchups for both of them. But it's going to come down to who can suit up and steal one of them games. Because that's what it's going to come down to. Both are going to come into play. You both are at 11. You both are at 11 wins if you want to be technical, based on the user game situation. So let's put it like this: the one who it favors better is the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo has 11 wins, adding on with the forced wins with 2 user games. The Colts have 10 wins with 3 user games. All the Bills need to do is split, and they make the playoffs. As far as the Colts, if the Colts win 2 of 3, they make the playoffs. So it's a tough. I say that it favors Buffalo better, but the Colts control their own destiny. They're gonna have to lock in, and that's really what it's gonna come down to. So I can't really say right now who's gonna be the number 7 seed. But I'm gonna pass it over and see what the guys are gonna say. Who are y'all thinking picks the number 7 seed up?
Listen. Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, Black Panther, Bills. Listen, man, y'all are in the driver's seat. Looking at both of the schedules and the forced wins left, just looking at strictly that. All you have to do, I'm not gonna lie, you have 2 tough, very tough matchups, 2 tough user games that you're gonna have to play. But all you gotta do is you just gotta lock in. You just gotta lock in and win one of those games. And you're pretty much there. You just gotta lock in and win one of those games. And if you lock in, you lose the first, lock in and win the second. That's all you gotta do. On the Colts side, it's a little tougher, but you also have 3 very tough games. It's gonna be tougher for you because the Bills has more forced wins left, but you also have 3 tough games in the Chargers, the Giants, and the Texans, who I know is not giving up a forced win. So it's possible for you to do it too. If the Bills can't get it done and he slips up, loses those user games, it's on you. So I'm really gonna be paying attention to what happens these last 4 weeks of the season to see how it goes down. But both of y'all have a shot, but I think the Bills just have a little bit of a better shot to get that last seed. But we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of y'all. I think the Bills have the better shot at getting that 7th seed just because of the Colts. So not only are they getting the short end of the forced wins, but they getting those 2 tough user games as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's set up for the Bills. All they gotta do is execute, man. Coach Tyreek gotta, you know, give a pep talk to them boys and have them execute the plan. But it's gonna be, you never know though. It's anyone's game. It's just gonna be interesting. 2 user games per se for those, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't have much to say that's different from anybody else's. But yeah, Texans not giving any forced wins. It is what it is with our season. But yeah, the Texans making the playoffs next year, so we facing everybody. We coming for everybody. If we mess up the season. We mess up the season. It is what it is. So be prepared. I really pray that it comes down to week 18 against the Colts. But if it doesn't, stuff happens. Everybody had opportunity to handle their business earlier in the season. So I'm looking forward to see how things play out, and I just hope that the Week 18 matchup versus the Colts actually means something, because yeah, we coming. As the New York Giants user always says, we ready, we ready, we ready.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what he says. Now we done hit the AFC. Let's get over to the NFC. As we know, let's go ahead and get this out the way. It's only 2 teams fighting for the number 1 seed. Ain't nobody else in the conference fighting for the number 1 seed. It's 2 teams. It's not like the AFC where everybody got to win every week and feel nervous. It's only 2 teams that has a shot at the number 1 seed. Sorry for everybody else from the NFC that's watching. I'm not throwing no jabs at you. We are going by the records. Starting off with the number 1 seed currently, the Arizona Cardinals. They have 3 forced wins coming up against the Pats, the Broncos, and the 49ers. They got 2 user games against the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Atlanta is 10-2 with a forced win against Pittsburgh. And they got 4 user games remaining with New Orleans, Baltimore, Arizona, and Tampa. If you ask me, the Keandre KD matchup is going to be huge because, truth be told, the tougher road is for KD, but all he got to do is win. Plain and simple. If he went out, the number 1 seed is his, even with the forced wins coming from the Cardinals, because technically both teams, KD lost 1 matchup in week number 3 against the Seahawks in conference, but if you tie it with the conference record in head-to-head, you jump 2 to go to number 1. And let me be honest with you guys. No disrespect to nobody in that conference. You're not trying to go to Atlanta with he has number 1 seed. I'm sorry. You do not want to deal with him. Because as long as that offense is clicking with Desmond Ridder and company, he's going to be a tough out. But that's how I feel. I think that right now it's up to the Arizona Cardinals to hold on to their conference, but it could really come down to it. Week 17, excuse me, is going to be the one to watch. So my personal opinion, the Cardinals control their own destiny, but Atlanta can win that number 1 seed if everything goes like it should. But I'm going to pass it over.
Okay. So it's going to be tough. The Cardinals are in the driver's seat for the number 1 seed, in my opinion. All they really have to do is win. It's only a 2-team race right now for that number 1 seed. But the case is the same with my Falcons also. All we will have to do technically is just win, and that number 1 seed would go to Atlanta. It would be ours. Cardinals probably has a little bit of an easier road with the Falcons, of course, only having a one force win this week. The rest are user games. Um, what's going to be key for me is the tough matchup that the Falcons have against the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a key game down the stretch for us. If we could somehow win that game, I would say I like my chances. Um, Even though we still have a couple division games left against some pretty tough opponents, but other than that, I feel like our chances are greater, and I have a better picture of what's going to happen after that Baltimore Ravens game. But for sure, the Cardinals, they're pretty much in the driver's seat right now. So we'll see what happens. But we're trying to win all these games and get that number one seed. So we'll see.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be an interesting race down the stretch. With I think Nate, you said the Cards play the Bucks, and I can't remember who else, but don't overlook that Bucks matchup with the Cards. The Bucks is a really good user when he plays. I don't know, lately he's been disappearing, but when he plays, he's a really good user, and he can shake up some things over there. So don't sleep on the Bucks with those matchups. But the Falcons, they have the toughest road to the one seed per se. But I mean, they got a good coach over there. So as long as they coached up good, execute well, it should be no problem taking care of those games. I know they got the Ravens down the stretch. That should be a great game. Coached by me. I hate playing KD, man. I'm not gonna lie. That should be an interesting game though. But I'm curious to see how that plays out over there on the NFC side. Even though it don't, pertain to me, I'm in the AFC, but I'm really interested to see how that plays out. It should be fun to see.
Yeah. You always say the cliche that you never know how a team reacts to that first loss, and a lot of everyone else has had the benefit of go ahead and getting that loss out the way. And the Cardinals are dealing with a recent loss to the Chargers, and that was a game where I believe the Cardinals were actually favored. Chargers came in there, and give them credit. They played really well. And one can say they at times they looked very dominant during that game. So I'm sure that gave some question marks to to the team in the locker room. Like, and we've been the number one seed, and then we just come in and get beat like that late in the season. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back. As for the Falcons, we talk about them every week. They're one of those teams, those Super Bowl contenders. Everybody wants to say they're Super Bowl contenders, but realistically, there's only a handful, and they're one of them. They do have a very difficult matchup coming up against another Super Bowl contender in the Ravens. So, some people might look at the 6th seed and be like, "How can you say that?" Don't play yourself now. Go watch the tape. Go let the season finish out. I'm not sure how they can finish in the AFC. I believe I know they can finish at least the 3 seed. Who knows about higher? But Falcons got a very difficult matchup. That could be a Super Bowl preview. So I advise you to at least tune into that matchup when it comes up. But I'm interested to see how the Cardinals bounce back after that tough defeat last week. If we want to see We want to see what you're made of. You've shown us all year, but we want to see how you bounce back from that loss last week. But other than that, they are in the driver's seat, take care of business. They have the easier road, but games are not played on paper; they're played on the field. So we'll see.
Yes, sir. I like how y'all described that. Okay, let me go ahead. We're not even gonna go. The East is over. Corey won that division. Congratulations to Corey, Katie, and Keandre. Your divisions are over. Congratulations on those three. And Finley is gonna have the best the best NFC record of all the teams that are in the wild card picture. Now, as far as the NFC North, there is a 2-man race between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. Unfortunately, it would have been a 3-man race. Shout out to my boy Real Pressure, the Bears user. He has some personal things going on. He had to step out for a minute, but he will when he return back. At division is going to be fun to watch. But the two teams that are in the race, the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. The Lions 7-5 came off a big win against the Jaguars to get to 2 games over 500. They have 4 again, not 1, not even 2, not even 3, but 4 consecutive forced wins coming up with 1 user game last week of the season against Tyler and the Green Bay Packers. As far as Tyler's and the Packers at a 7-5, they got 3 forced wins against the Bears, the Rams, and the Vikings with 2 user games against the Dolphins and the Lions. If you ask me who's going to win the NFC North, it's Nick's division to lose. No disrespect to Ty. I don't see you beating the Miami Dolphins, and I do not see you winning Week 18 against Nick and the Jameson Lions. That's just not a favorable matchup for you at this moment. Because in a lot of his toughest matchups, he have not really stayed close. And I just think that those lines are getting hot at the right time. Nick's one of the top 10 users of the league. He can take anybody and compete with them. So it's going to be hard to hold on to that division if you're not getting wins. So me personally, I have the Detroit Lions winning the NFC North and getting that 4th seed.
Yeah, no disrespect, but that NFC North is cooked, man. That's that's Nick's that's gonna be Nick's division, man. He's gonna win that. On top of the force wins, he still has one last matchup against the Packers, and the Packers have a hard road. So I fully expect Nick, Frank, whatever you want to call him, he a top 10 user, Green. I fully expect him to go on and win that division. So that's how I see that shaking out.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like Nick is the favorite, but Ty has this weird way of like spoiling things and playing perfect at the right moment sometimes. Not all the time, because sometimes I don't know what his game plan be all over the place. But I don't know. Nick should win a division, but don't be surprised if Ty somehow steals that division from Nick in these last few weeks. So that should be interesting to see as well. Just don't count out. You can never count out A-Rod, but it just depends on what Tosh comes up to play. Because you never know with that guy, man. I don't know what he be going through, but he gonna have to lock in and try to silence out the doubters. But I mean, it's Nick's division to lose, so we should see.
Yeah. Maybe the Packers. Ty, he's capable, you know. So I would sound like a hypocrite if I said that, you know, it's over with, because I just said that games are played on the field, not on paper. So division is it's not over yet. So there's still opportunity. He just has to show up, you know. There's been many times throughout history where people have been overlooked and overshadowed, and they showed up and shut people up because they did what they had to do. They took care of business. But like Stevie Wonder said, you know, this should be Nick's division. It should be signed, sealed, and delivered. So we're gonna see, you know. It's up to Nick. Nick, you know, you don't won several divisions before, so it's no pressure on your end. You just handle your business, but it's definitely not over yet. Ty, he said he's gonna have something to say about it, so we're gonna see.
I want to see what he got to say about it because I think so. Anyways,
what you gotta say?
Yeah, I need to see what he got to say about it. And I need him to stream some games. I'm tired of seeing the streams pop up after the game is over. But moving on to the number 7 seed, the battle for the 7 seed, Bucks and Saints are 6-6. The Commanders are 5-7. Before I even touch on this, let me go ahead and say this right here. Tampa, if you're watching, play your games. Bro, play your games. You're actually a solid user. So whoever can send this message, I don't care if you screen record this. I don't care if you send it to him personally at home. Or email it, text it to him, FaceTime him. Get that man to hear this part right here. Play your games. Number 1. Number 2, check Messenger. All of my chats are muted too, and I still check my chats. Check Messenger, sir. All you gotta do, press the button, clear your notification, then keep it moving. That's all. It's just that simple.
That darn kicking in on Nate, boy.
Especially if you have an iPhone. Just click it. That's all. But before we just had to get out of the way, because if not, the Saints are gonna easily get the number 7 seed via go ahead and give him his force. I don't want it to play out like that. I want to see a battle for that number 7 seed at least, especially with the AFC as a slugfest where you could possibly win 10 games and miss the playoffs, which is crazy again. But as far as the number 7 seed, let me see. K Hart says, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I hope he play that every morning when he wake up, when he get into the league. Because you cannot keep missing games and be in a playoff picture. I wish I was in your position. Anyways, the number 7 seed is 6-6 and 6-5. The Saints are 6-6. They got 2 forced wins coming up against the Eagles and the Panthers with three user games remaining between 4 between the Saints. Between Tampa, the Browns, and the Falcons. Now, the Bucks and the Browns, those games, if you show up and do what you got to do, hey, you can possibly hold on to that 7 seed. Falcons, just give it to God. Ask God, show you the way, because the Falcons are tough. I have to pray before I play them too. Don't worry. I don't feel bad. Now, Mr. Play Your Game Buccaneers have 2 forced wins against the Panthers and the 49ers and 4 user games against after the Saints, you got the Bengals, Cardinals, and Falcons. You're another one who needs to lock in. You can't miss no games because that could easily fall into the spot of the New Orleans Saints by default if you don't show up and play. And as I also see, as I throw in here as the third team, the Commanders are 5-7, but I'm not really sure what they're going to do as far as their remaining schedule. They could possibly, let me make this clear. Zarius is a really decent user, but the Geno Smith experience needs to end. Because if you take Geno another season to go to the 20 and throw a pick, I'm going to scream. So please get rid of Geno Smith. Draft your quarterback in the first round. Please do. Because it's actually holding your team back. You actually are in a lot of your games that you play. But it take you out the game because Geno go out there in a misfire pass at the 10-yard line when he could easily hit it for a touchdown. But If you ask me, I don't know who's going to finish up with the number 7 seed. I just do not know. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm gonna pass over to the guys. Who do y'all have finished with the number 7 seed? But before I pass it over, I will say this: if the Buccaneers just simply do the 3, let's make this as part of our inspirational note for all the smoke today. Play your games. He does those 3. He's the number 7 seed. Passing it over.
All right, so I don't have too much to say on this, but just like the AFC, it's a 2-team race for that 7 seed. I want to get this out of the way. Both of you guys are in my division. Thank you for your participation this year. Didn't quite work out too well for you, but hey, one of y'all are probably gonna have a chance to upset me as the 7 seed. So, looking at the schedules, I really feel like the Saints have a easier road. The Bucks he's a really good user, but just looking at the schedules, like the Saints, of course, Saints and the Bucks play. I don't know if they're gonna play that game or not. Hopefully they do, and it gets streamed so we have a chance to see it. But down the stretch, the Saints, he has the Browns, Eagles, and Panthers. Eagles and Panthers are for sure forced wins. I'm not sure if Bino was going to give that forced win, but he probably will. So we could see after the matchup with me, the Saints could be finishing the season with 3 straight forced wins. As far as the Bucks, looking at his schedule, of course, he has the Saints, forced against the Niners. But then he has to play. The Bengals. He has to play the Cardinals, and then he plays the Falcons, which is me, the last week of the season. So right now, if I had to choose, it would probably be the Saints, based on the fact that he just has an easier role right now. The Bucks have some tough games coming up, but if I was a betting man, I would probably put my money on the Saints to get that 7th seed.
I think in the end, the Bucks. I think the Bucks is gonna grab that 7th seed. When he plays, he's a great user, and it's all about him just locking in and playing, man. That's it. Just play your games and you're in. Like, I know you got some tough games. You got the Cards, you got the Falcons. It's gonna be tough. It's definitely gonna be tough, but if he just locks in, plays his game, I don't know, he can give the Cards and Falcons a run for their money. But if not, the Saints will slip up and get that 7th seed. So I don't know. It should be interesting, man. And shout out to Coach Finley and those Seahawks, man. Even though they did that crazy trade when we picked teams, hey, he's in that 5th spot, man. He's in the playoffs. He's been doing good with those Seahawks, man. Without DK and Jamal, so shout out to him.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this one, other than if the Bucks play their games, they should have it on lock. But if they don't, I believe the Saints will. They have a really solid team, and I think they'll sneak in there. And I think they can. They have a good chance of making some noise in the playoffs. It'll at least be a decent game. It won't be like a blowout or anything because they're solid. But yeah, if the Bucks take care of they actually show up, it's theirs. But if they don't, they miss some. They miss some games. it's the Saints for the taking. So I guess it really just depends on if they show up. Just show up.
All right, and that's what we feel about the playoff hunt. But before we go into a couple of other things, real quick before the league, let me read. I know you see the ticker. I'm gonna read it off though to everyone. So everyone that's watching, just be proud of yourself. What I'm about to talk about. First, the top 10 offenses in points per game. Number 1 is the Dolphins at 49.2 points a game. Number 2 is the Cardinals at 41 points flat. Tennessee averages 37.3. They're the number 3 offense in the league. Tied for 4th is Green Bay and Detroit with 35.5. The Jags are at number 6 with 35.1. The Bills are number 7 with 34.4. The Saints are 8 with 33.7. The Bengals are 9th at 33.5. And the Falcons, shout out to KD, is number 10 with 33.3 points a game. As far as your top 10 defenses, this is close. On Madden, both KD and Antoine has the number 1 defense tied. But as I did the math, the Titans are slightly edging the Falcons out as the number 1 seed. The number 1 defense in the league. Number 2 is the Falcons. Tied at 3rd is the Jaguars and the Cardinals with 19.3. The Ravens are at 19.6. That's subjected to change because of the forced win. Number 6 is the Bengals at 21.1. The Chargers, my boy with the 195 overall rated defense, is number 7 with 22 points a game. Number 8 is shout out to the Houston Texans and Mike in that squad at 22.1. The Buccaneers are number 9, 22.7, and the Giants are 24.8. Top 5 passing offense is in this order: the Cardinals, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Packers, and the Falcons. Top 5 rushing offenses: Dolphins, Bears, Jaguars, Chargers, and Giants are the top 5. The top 5 passing defenses are the Houston Texans, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Titans. Top 5 rushing defenses: the Bengals, the Ravens, the Jets, the Titans, and the Bucks. Most sacks: the Dolphins is number 1, the Colts is number 2, the Bills is number 3, and the Chargers and Broncos are tied for 4th. Most interceptions: the Jags are number 1, tied at 2. It's supposed to be the Dolphins and the Bengals, but fix your Jesus on that graphic. Number 4 is the Lions, and number 5 is the Cardinals. Best turnover differential: number 1 is the Jaguars. Number 2 is the Titans. Number 3 is the Ravens. Number 4 is the Cardinals. And number 4 is the Dolphins. And number 5 is the Cardinals. Excuse me, I'll read too fast. And that is some of the shout out to the stat leaders in the league as far as team stats. But since we are at week 13, let me get ready to go to the screen that we are all ready to see. We are finally going to get a chance to see the first outlook at the yearly awards at the race. We're going to come up on the screen. The top 5 for the MVP race right now: the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray is number 1. Tua is number 2 for the Dolphins. Number 3 is Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Number 4 is Jameson and the speedy Detroit Lions. At number 4 is crazy at a wide receiver, is number 4 in this race. And number 5 is Desmond Ridder and the Atlanta Falcons at 10-2. How do y'all feel about that top 5 MVP race?
A lot of interesting names on that top 10. Kyler Murray, as long as the Cardinals were undefeated in the great season they're having, I expected him to be there. Same with Tua. Josh Allen, I went and looked at Allen's numbers. He's actually having a great season. I think when I looked, he only had 9 interceptions on the year, so he's actually playing great. As far as Jameson Williams, we already know what he does, and we already know the user that Nick is. So once he has a great receiver, that receiver has a big year. Desmond Ridder started out kind of slow, but he has been he's been improving every week, and we're really proud of him. And he's looks like he's making some noise, and he's getting some notoriety around the league. I did not expect him to be a top 5 MVP candidate, but hey, there he is. So yeah, couple surprises, but for the most part, this is what I expected.
I think the biggest surprise for me is Jameson Williams, top 5 against 4 other quarterbacks. So he's the only non-quarterback in the top 5. So shout out to Coach Frank Nick Green over with the Detroit Lions and Jameson Williams. But I mean, I went and looked at everybody's numbers, and they look pretty good to be up there. So I don't really have any other complaints about it or surprises.
Yeah, it's probably going to come down to the Kyler Murray and Tua based off the team performance. If the Cardinals slip up, continue to slide, they got that first loss, and the Dolphins continue to win, you may see some movement there. So that should be interesting. But as far as everyone else, it's very impressive to see a rookie, Desmond Ridder, not even a first-round pick, being in the top 5. I think that speaks to the scheme, speaks to the coach that he has, and what they've done there in Atlanta in just year 1. Josh Allen, he's Josh Allen. He's right where he normally is in the MVP race. As far as Jameson Williams, I found it's interesting. I didn't have a chance to look at his return numbers, but if he's their primary returner, then I'm assuming he has a couple of return for touchdowns, because it's interesting to see a receiver above his quarterback, because, the quarterback's actually throwing the ball, which is why you rarely see receivers this high MVP races. You rarely see receivers win the Heisman, something that Devontae Smith did a couple of years ago, because, your quarterback is actually throwing you the ball. So I'm assuming Jameson Williams is lighting it up on the return, in the return game, as well as putting up numbers receiving. So yeah, that's very impressive to see a receiver that far up.
Another thing I missed is that DeMarcus Lawrence at 6.
I was about to say that. Is that Dexter?
Yes, it
or
is.
is that, which one is it?
That's DeMarcus Lawrence.
Wow.
What is he doing over there in Indianapolis that got him at 6?
I need to find that out too.
Dang, I didn't look at his stats, but shout out to DeMarcus Lawrence and the Colts, man. Hey, we still got 4 weeks left, so he might sneak into that top 5.
Yes, sir. Let's go to the conference real quick. I'm going to just go over the race for the offensive defensive players of the year and the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Number 1 is Tyreek Hill at 11-1. Tyquan Thornton for the New England Patriots. DJ Shark is number 3. DK Metcalf is number 4, and Travis Etienne is number 5. The only surprise, I think, is Tyquan Thornton, but he's been balling on a very bad team. So I'm not surprised to see him in that race. Not surprised to see Tyreek Hill, which is kind of incredible for the Dolphins, because the Dolphins is actually pretty balanced on offense. So, considering he has Tyreek, Waddle, and Cooper Kupp, so he actually spreads the ball around. So it's kind of impressive to see Tyreek Hill as number 1. Not surprised to see the Jacksonville Sharks up here at number 3, because he definitely, if y'all know the play, he's gonna throw deep. So Shark definitely gonna get his numbers. DK Metcalf, it doesn't surprise me, because Coach Mace in that Ravens office is always efficient. His guys are gonna always be in the top 3 to 5 race, always. And then Travis Etienne was at one point leading the league in rushing, so that doesn't surprise me that he's number 5. But what do you guys think about that top 5?
Offensive player of the year. With the season that the Dolphins are having, I pretty much expected Tyreek Hill to be there. And if you look at the bottom of that list, you see Jalen Waddle also. And then don't forget that team also has Cooper Kupp, just throwing it out there. As far as Thornton, I think he's the only real target out there for the Patriots. So they're feeding him the ball, and it's showing in the stats. So I have to go look at exactly what he's doing, but he has to be having a crazy year so far in order to be number 2 and ranked over DJ Shark of the Jaguars, who we all know Buddy Buckets and DJ Shark are, hand in hand. How he goes is how DJ Shark goes. How DJ Shark goes is how he goes. I think that might be his favorite receiver on the game. So it's no surprise that he's having a great year also. And, if you look down at number 5, you see Travis Etienne. So that goes to show you how good that Jaguars team is. DK Metcalf for the Ravens. DK is one of the best receivers in the league, probably the best receiver on Madden. So it's no surprise that he's in the top 5 also. And I also give a shout out to Terry McLaurin. He's having a pretty good season out there for the Bills. So yeah, my only, I guess, would be Thornton, but I imagine he's having an amazing season to even be that high with a 2-9 record.
Yeah, I think I'm agree with y'all. I think Thornton is probably the biggest surprise. I mean, it's not much over there in New England, so so I will assume the offense runs through him. So that's the biggest surprise. I mean, you got Tyreek Hill. He outruns the whole defense, so that's, human cheat code. DJ Shark, man, hey man. Whatever Coach Buddy Buckets does with DJ Shark, man, it's incredible. He gonna throw it to him, and it's coming, and he still gets it off. So shout out to him. DK started off slow. He's trying to find his way in the new offense, but he's starting to get clicking and going. And Travis Etienne, like Nate said, he was leading the league in rushing at one point. So it's no surprise that he's in the top 5. And shout out to Terry McLaurin, Jalen Waddle. They're doing their thing.
Yeah. So you got 2 teams on here that have 2 players on there, which is very difficult. Which means they're not the primary focus. And then that some teams only have that one player that they try to get involved because that's all they have. So which also on the flip side could be very difficult as well. They know you're going to that player every time and you can't stop it. So shout out to Thornton and the Patriots, not having as good of a season as they would have liked, but he's having a great individual season. And again, I reiterate that it's difficult being that primary target and you're still putting up numbers. So kudos to them over there. But on the flip side, having 2 different teams on here that have 2 different players, they in some senses they cancel each other out. If the Dolphins didn't have Tyreek Hill, maybe Jalen Waddle would be number 1. But and as far as the Jaguars, maybe if the Jaguars weren't as balanced as they are, maybe DJ Shark would be number 1, or maybe Travis Etienne would be number 1. So I think this is a great list. I think this shows that players are able to get their players involved in different scenarios, different aspects. Well, some aspects you got to force feed somebody because that's all you got, and the other one you still have guys putting up numbers even though they're not the primary focus every single time. And someone mentioned it earlier, the Dolphins also have Cooper Kupp. So it's only one ball. So, you got to get everybody involved. And I think that speaks to the explosiveness of that offense, that Tyreek Hill is number 1. I'm interested to see how this how this finishes out. I'm not sure if the Patriots is going to continue playing games throughout, but if he doesn't, I would assume that would give DK Metcalf and DJ Shark an opportunity to leapfrog and get into get to the finish line with Tyreek Hill. So yeah, that should be interesting.
All right, and let's see. That's the offensive players. Defensive, I've got to find out whatever's going on with this man DeMarcus Lawrence when it comes up on the screen. Don't know what he's doing, but clearly he's number 6 in the MVP race.
I look. He has 21 sacks on the season.
Oh my God, it's only been only 13 games. Good Lord, he's breaking the NFL record. But he's leading the. He's gonna probably murder this. I don't even know if we're gonna skip this. We're gonna skip this one right here because that race is over. What y'all think? That we're gonna skip past that defensive player of the year. He got 21 sacks. It's over.
Yeah, that one might be done.
It's not even catching him. We're gonna move on to the offensive rookie of the year.
That one might be done.
Okay, going to the offensive rookie of the year. Tyquan Thornton right now is number 1, but Pacheco for the Titans is number 2. Alec Pierce for the Colts is number 3. George Pickens is number 4. And Breece Hall, who was on the winless Broncos, is number 5. I can say I'm not surprised because Tyquan Thornton is in the Offensive Player of the Year race. He may hold on to this award, but Patch and Pickens have done an excellent job this season in Tennessee. And Pierce has had a decent year in Indy, but it could be Tyquan Thornton's receiving the Offensive Rookie of the Year award to lose. What y'all think about it?
Yeah, I think at this point, seeing Tyquan Thornton on that other list, I think this could be his to lose, but it would not shock me if Pacheco was to somehow jump him just due to the fact of how he's been such a key player for the Titans. So I would keep an eye on that. But other than that, I mean, you see the Colts, Alec Pierce, you got George Pickens on there, also on the Titans. That just goes to show how great that offense is. Breece Hall is a pretty good back. I know the Broncos, he isn't playing right now, but while he was playing, he was doing pretty well. Shout out to, I see Pierce down there. Mike is one of the best at running the ball in the entire league. So it's no shock to me to see Pierce there. And then you round it out with Romeo Doubs. So I think it's Thornton's to lose, but it wouldn't shock me if Pacheco somehow jumps him at some point.
Yeah, I think it is Thornton's to lose, but seeing that he is 2-9 with those Patriots, and the Titans have those meaningful games coming up, there is a good chance that Pacheco jumps Thornton on the back end. So we gotta look out for that. And shout out to Pacheco and Pickens, being in the top 5 on the same team. That's a good feat. I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, Pacheco might edge out Thornton just because of the force wins and the meaningful games coming up, unless the Patriots decide to play. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, with how high Thornton is up on the MVP race, you would think that this was a done deal, but the way the Titans are playing Pacheco, he's going to be involved, So as long as that offense continues to hum, I don't see a way that Tyquan Thornton can hold on. It's possible, but with Pacheco being such a vital position and player for that Titans, and their divisional championship run, yeah, it's gonna be difficult. But shout out to all the guys on the list. They should be very. They should be. These are some guys that you should watch going forward in the league. They're gonna be a lot of these guys are on. It's really balanced right now. I think you got three of these guys are on winning teams. The rest are on losing teams. I expect those teams to be better, and primarily because of those players. So if those teams are going to improve, those players are going to have to even step up even more going into season 2. So shout out to all the rookies. They represented.
Yes, sir. So moving on to the defensive rookie of the year. The said it come up in this race is gonna be a battle. Roger McCreary currently leads it, but Tristan McCullum is gonna give him a run for his money. He's gonna have a great season. George Karlaftis is in the race at number 3, and Channing Tindall and Percy Butler is 4 and 5 for the Dolphins. This is suggested to change any week because 4 of the 5 players are in the playoff hunt, so they could actually improve on their stats. So I don't think this race is set in stone. So that's gonna be one to watch. What do you guys think?
Breaking news. We are launching an investigation on the Tennessee Titans. We're not sure how he has so many rookies up for all these awards. But just judging off of, man, it looks like a lot of the teams at the top of the AFC have a lot of rookies up for awards, which it makes sense. I see Roger McCreary. This is actually going to be a very interesting race. Roger McCreary, you got McCullum there. Karlaftis on the Texans. Shout out to Mike. You see the 2 Dolphins players, Trayvon Walker of the Chiefs. Yeah, it's I'm not sure what to feel about this race. I feel like anybody listed probably in the top 5 of this list has a legit shot to win. But if it comes down to it, I would say I would probably have to pick McCreary or McCullum, or even possibly Tindall or Butler, simply because they're on teams that have great records who are fighting for some top seeds. But it honestly wouldn't shock me to see anybody, really anybody on this list go on to win it. I'm not sure what really separates all these players, but yeah, this is going to be a tough race. I have no idea who's going to win this.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same with yeah, I honestly have no clue. Honestly, like the top 5 could change. Excuse me. Honestly, at any time during these last couple of weeks with the meaningful games and stuff going on. So it's honestly anybody's award. What the top 5, of course, but it's honestly any of those guys' award, because the Dolphins Tindall and Butler could very well have superb games down the stretch and jump up to 3 and 2, maybe. But it'd be interesting to see who is the final leader week 18. I can't call it right now. It's just too close.
Yeah, shout out to the Titans. And as I see, his development staff is legendary. Hey, they're sticking to that mantra. They're doing the thing down there in Nashville. Shout out to the Jaguars as well. That's interesting. The top 3 right now are all from the AFC South. Man, that's gonna be something to watch moving forward in season 2. Season 1 for the Titans and Jags, but those Texans, they got some good young players too. One player you don't see on here is Stingley. He's actually had a really good season. He just they don't throw his way. They throw to the side with Patrick Peterson, so he doesn't get the opportunity to make a lot of big time plays that the casual fan would enjoy or notice, like interceptions and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's too early to tell. I think Karlaftis, he was leading the NFL in sacks for about 4 or 5 weeks, but he's not getting much help on the defensive line. So, he's got more attention on him, so he's not getting as many sacks anymore. So, or it could be he hit a rookie wall. So he hasn't got as many sacks lately. So it could become, a 4-player race between the 2 players on the Dolphins and the Jags and the Titans down the stretch if Karlaftis, his teammates don't give him more help to get open one-on-one matchups. So yeah, I can see 4 or 5 players on here that have the potential or have the opportunity to take home the race. Should be interesting. From what I see, the league is in good hands going forward with these defensive players.
Yes, sir. That's the great thing about the AFC race. Now over to the NFC. As I said, we're going to go to the Offensive Player of the Year first. Let's set it on the screen. And number 1 is Jameson Williams. Number 2 is Saquon Barkley. Number 3 is Mike Williams for the Cardinals. Number 4 is Dan Chisena. Shout out to Finley in those Seahawks. He's building a really, really bad receiver after losing DK in the most wildest trade I've ever seen in a preseason league ever. And Kyle Pitts is number 5. I right now think this is Jameson Williams' award to lose, but simply because that offense feeds the ball to Jameson Williams. But it's not, and it's not to say that the other 4 don't feed in their scheme. It's just Jameson's out to such a fast start. But hey, that speaks volumes in how well those guys have played. And shout out to number 7, Chris Olave. I see him down there in the race as well. But I think right now it's going to probably Jameson Williams winning this award.
Okay, NFC Offensive Player of the Year. Jameson Williams, Saquon Barkley, not surprises at all. I guess my surprise would be, like Nate already mentioned, Dan Chisena is here, and which was a product of that initial team picking draft day trade that sent DK Metcalf to the Ravens. So it looks like Dan Chisena has benefited. Finley loves speed, and he's been feeding him the ball. Everybody else on this list, I can pretty much understand them being there. Jameson Williams, we've already talked about him, but he's amazing. He has speed that you really can't match. Saquon Barkley, we know the Giants are a great team. We know their offense is running directly through Saquon, and the Cardinals have been good all year. So it's no surprise that Williams is there. As far as the rest of the list, Kyle Pitts on the Falcons. He's having a pretty decent year. So no surprise he's there, especially with a 10-2 record. Miles Sanders is kind of surprising, but I have to look at his numbers to see how he's doing. But I'm pretty sure he's having a great year if he's there. And the same goes for Chris Olave to round out that top 7 there. But yeah, the biggest surprise here for me is Dan Chisena.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me is Dan Chisena as well. I don't think nobody is catching Jameson Williams in this race. Shout out to Coach Nick over there in Detroit. That's his go-to guy whenever he needs a big play. So, I mean, he's been going crazy, and he's top 3, I think, top 4 in the MVP race. So, I don't think he's going to be caught for that Offensive Player of the Year. But Chacina is definitely the biggest surprise with that DK movement. Coach Finley had to find, that other guy, that other big speed guy, and I guess he found him in Chacina, and it shows.
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch on the guys that everybody already spoke on, like surprises and whatnot. You see Olave down there at the bottom. Shout out to him. He's a solid guy. Kyle Pitts. As the Falcons continue to win, he's going to be involved. It's kind of like earlier what I mentioned with Pacheco on the other side. He's going to be an important part of that team, which means he can. If the team's going to win, he's going to be one of the primary reasons why, which means he's going to continue to move up. Shout out to Mike Will doing his thing. Saquon, who knows what his actual numbers would have been if that he had the user had more games played. He might. I was gonna say he might be number one, but Jameson is running away with this thing, so I don't think it really mattered. Shout out to J-Mo, shout out to Nick doing his thing, and we saw how high Jameson is as a receiver, just being shown on the top players from MVP. That solidifies that this race is over. So shout out for everybody else that's on this list, but it's pretty much over.
Hey, I agree with that as well. Let's move to the defensive player of the year. Now, this is gonna be interesting. And everyone that's tuned in, we're gonna hit the rookies, and then we're gonna be wrapping it up because we are getting this award race is gonna update as we continue to see the last couple weeks play out. But just showing some stuff for the first one that we're doing. But Kirby Joseph is leading for the Lions at number 1 with Darnell Savage at number 2. And Wusu is leading for Seattle at number 3. At number 4 is JC Horn. And at number 5, which is a shocker that he's 5th because he's actually balled out. I've seen him get several interceptions this season. Has been Isaiah Simmons for the Arizona Cardinals at number 5. So I don't know. This is another interesting race, but salute to the Lions for building Kirby Joseph into a monster so far.
Yeah, so Kirby Joseph, just taking a look at his stats, 11 picks this year. He also has a sack, so I'm not sure if Nick is, and he also has 2 defensive touchdowns, so that could be a reason why he's so high. But Nick has turned him into a monster, and he's leading this defensive player of the year race over in the NFC. A lot of interesting names here. Darnell Savage, the Packers, they're having a pretty good season, so no surprise there. As always, when you see people like JC Horn there with a 2-10 record, you have to assume that he's having a great year due to the fact that the team is that bad. So shout out to him. And Wosu's having a pretty good year. I am surprised to see Isaiah Simmons that low. I'm guessing he just may not have as many stats as some of the players on this list, but I know for a fact because I've seen the streams. I know he's been balling all season, so I'm kind of surprised that he's that low, but he's definitely great. And shout out to the Seahawks, man. Three players in the top 7 of the defensive player of the year list, with Tariq Woolen and Brown also there. So that goes to show how good that team has been playing. But this is another one that is going to be a toss-up as the season continues to play out. I think this award is up in the air, and really anybody on this list could probably come away with the win. So it's going to be interesting to pay attention to.
I think this is the most interesting defensive player of the year list that I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen like any of these names on a defensive player of the year list besides maybe Tyreek Woolen and Isaiah Simmons. But shout out to the Lions and what they're doing with Kirby Joseph over there. Shout out to the Packers. That one should be interesting, seeing that they still got to play each other. So that one might flip flop. And shout out to the Seahawks, man. He making it work over there. No Jamal Adams on the back end. You still got Woolen, you got Brown. And in Wusu, I don't know what type of scheme he running over there, but Owusu is top 3 in defensive player of the year. Hey, that's incredible, man. That's really incredible.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. Some of these guys, you look at their overalls, you look at just like the overall game, and you like, how are they right here? I think that just kudos to the users, their scheme, and shout out to these defensive coordinators. They're doing their thing over there. Yeah, the Titans and the Seahawks probably are in the lead for like most players on these lists. Like it's been like multiple lists where they've had multiple players on the list. So shout out to them, and it makes sense because if you look at their records, they're right in the thick of things in the playoffs. So it correlates to winning, having good players and players producing at a high level, which they are. But as far as who's going to win this, man, I have no clue right now. Kirby's in the lead, but we didn't want to call the division race earlier. But if the Packers are gonna, stay in the race, it's gonna start with Savage. He's gonna have to play elite like he's played the entire year. So, if the Packers make the playoffs, win the division, then Savage is gonna win that defensive player of the year. So it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, and that's the defensive player of the year race. Offensive rookie, I'm gonna go ahead and skip it once it shows on the screen, and you see who it is. It is no other than Jameson Williams. There's no need to talk about this race. Just let y'all get a quick glance of who's there and skip right past it. Defensive rookie of the year. I may not even talk about this one. I'm going to show y'all who's on here too. It is Kirby Joseph. I think the Lions might run away with all those awards, guys. What do y'all think?
Yeah, it's looking like it. When you're up for defensive player of the year of the NFC, and you're also at the top of defensive rookie of the year, chances are you're probably gonna win that award. But I wouldn't sleep on Tariq Woolen. But other than that, yeah, I'd say Kirby Joseph is probably in the driver's seat to win this defensive rookie of the year award.
Yeah, I think the same. Like y'all was saying, like Katie said, he's already at the top for defensive player of the year. And then on top of that, he's on the top for defensive rookie of the year. So this might be his award to lose. Shout out to the Vikings. I don't know who Kahu is, but I guess he over there balling. He got 2 players in the top 5 with Andrew Booth as well. So shout out to him, even though with that record, it's looking a little grim, but I think it's Kirby Joseph's to lose.
Yeah, I agree. If the Seahawks are gonna, maintain their momentum that they've started throughout the year, he's gonna be at the center of it. He's gonna have to continue to make some plays, be involved. He has the talent, he has the speed that he gets a pick, he can take it to the house at any moment. So if he does what he has to do, he can get back in this race and make it a little bit closer with Kirby Joseph. But like everyone else said, I think it's Kirby Josephs to lose. So we'll see. But my bet is on Kirby taking home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that is the race for the top awards right now. But we're about to get ready to wrap this show up. Before we get out of here, guys, do y'all have anything that you have left to say to the league members?
Play your games. Play your games. Play your games. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, man, just keep up the good work, man. We kind of flew through this season, honestly. This has been a fast-paced season. So, just keep it up, man. We almost to season 2. Should be an interesting playoffs. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. Like everyone said, just play your games. I know the quicker you play your games, the quicker we can get to these great, awesome projected playoff matchups. And then for those that are out of the race, the quicker we get done, the quicker we can get to the draft and free agency, so we can see what some of the guys that are out of the playoff race early to see what they got to say. I know there are going to be some changes with rosters, but yeah, play your games.
Yes, sir. I can agree with everything that they are saying as well. But with that being said, this has been your Around the Smoke Playoff Hunt edition. We may be probably back. It's another one coming next week, so we'll always update it week by week. I'd love to have all the guys back on here, but if they can't, we will definitely have a 4th Around the Smoke show closer to the playoffs. But with that being said, this has been Around the Smoke Volume 3 Playoff Edition. Until next time, enjoy yourselves. Have a great rest of the evening. And quick note for the league, Thursday night, we will be doing the draft. I will be doing a live draft show. I will post a link in here for you guys to be able to chime in on there if you want to. But again, we will have it up on the group page. But until tomorrow or whenever I do the next show, y'all have a great rest of your evening. Good night, y'all.